Okay, y'all. What's clearly a scam, but Americans have been conditioned to believe it's normal? Well, that is the title of the video we're looking at today. This is from TikTok News. This will be linked, of course, in the description down below. And let's just dive right into it, okay? See how many of these are true, exaggerated, that I agree with, that I don't agree with. We can hear your thoughts in the comments as well. Let's do it.
Something that's clearly a scam, but Americans have been conditioned to believe is normal.
There's so many, but I'm gonna give you the top that really pissed me off. The first one is the fact that you can't put your parents, your grandparents, or your siblings on your health insurance. So if you have a great job with great insurance and your siblings are young or something's wrong or your parents something, you can't put them on.
Yeah, you know what? I'll give her that one. That's actually a good point. Obviously, you can put your spouse and your own kids on there and have them covered. But yeah, I guess that is kind of a actually pretty major flaw. That actually makes sense, especially if you are taking care of your siblings or your parents or something. I know actually sometimes there's workarounds, but it's not a definite thing when it actually should be. So yeah.
Rather you go to the government, get assistance, get Medi-Cal, Medicare, take other people's tax money instead of you paying for them out of your pocket. The second thing is that in America, 18 is considered an adult, right? But they still use your parents' income to determine if you're able to pay for college. The third one that I think is mind-blowing is that we have to pay for water.
Now, that one I'm going to disagree with, if I may here. We are paying for a little more than water. I understand that logic. Water is essential to all life, and I get it. We should all be entitled to water. I totally agree. But, it's a little more involved than that. You're paying for the process. First of all, you're paying for the convenience, actually. You have water in all your faucets in your apartment, in your house, whatever. That's very convenient, right? Very easy. Turn the faucet, turn it off. Not to mention, have you seen how extensive of a process, how involved, how expensive it is at any water treatment plant? That water is extremely treated. It's not as easy as just going out to the river, at least around most parts in the U.S., and getting a bucket and then drinking it, cooking with it, using it as a shower, whatever. It's a little more involved than that. So that's what you're paying for. That's how I see it.
What's something that's clearly a scam, but Americans have been conditioned to believe is normal?
Okay, I know I look kind of gross. Sorry, I just woke up. But this is something I've actually heard someone talk about on TikTok before, like they've addressed it. But when you go into debt and your debt gets sent to a debt collector, they buy your debt for
That's correct.
however much it costs, and then they make money by charging you more money because they bought your debt.
Yeah.
So you're only entitled to
That's true. Debt collection is total BS, total garbage. You don't owe them anything. Their fees, their new total amount that's like double, triple what you really owed. Yeah, that's all made up. It's all hearsay. It's totally made up. Debt collection is BS. When you sign a loan from whatever bank or whatever, it's a contract between you and them. You owe them, and you owe them the exact amount. Whatever you have paid off, that's your payoff amount. There is no debt collection, and they make up all these new fees and this new amount. It's all BS.
to pay what you actually owe, and sometimes even less than that. Like, I've done research on it, and it's true. So if you're being chased
Keep in mind, if the debt collection now claims that they have your loan, keep in mind they bought that for really cheap. So again, it is a scam.
after by a debt collector, you need to ask them how much they bought your debt for and then just pay that. You do not have to pay any of the interest because that is not money that you have. You don't have to pay that because they made it up. Like, I'm being serious. Look it up. It's crazy.
I'm being serious too. That's pretty common knowledge. I feel like most people I know that, I hope. Yeah, don't mess with the debt collectors. They're full of shit. Everyone should know that.
Something that's clearly a scam, but Americans have been conditioned to believe is normal.
Not having kettles. I can't believe that the vast majority of Americans don't use kettles. They heat up water on the stove. They microwave water. What is that about?
I don't know any Americans that heat up water in a microwave. I've never done that either. What's she getting at?
Look at this that I saw on Twitter. A fucking god sends this. Oh my god, mine is so cute and rose gold. Got it.
Who cares about Twitter? She's like judging all Americans on some random ass Twitter post. This one, I'm sorry, I just don't agree with anything she's saying here.
From Target like a year ago.
This sounds
Plus, it
ludicrous
shuts off
to me.
once it boils, so I don't burn shit, El Mayo. I get so tired of warming water on the stove like my ancestors. Tip, if you hadn't thought of it already, boil the kettle for cooking as well. For example, if you're making pasta, instead of bringing the water to boil on the stove, boil it in the kettle, then pour it into the pot so you don't have to wait. Like, come on. I get that it's a British thing in culture to make tea, but surely everyone could just use a fucking kettle. Like, grow up?
I think she needs to grow up. She sounds like an ass.
It's clearly a scam, but Americans have been conditioned.
That tipped workers make less than minimum wage. Like much of America's history, tipping has a racist legacy.
Wow, she is really loud. Hold on. Dang, I can tell she's passionate.
So let's talk about how we got here. Tipping showed up in America after the Civil War because wealthy Americans who were vacationing in Europe wanted to seem sophisticated. But America in general actually hated the concept of tipping. They thought of it as classist and condescending. They disliked it so much that that dislike actually spread to Europe, and as a result, Europe doesn't customarily tip anymore. They pay their servers minimum wages. Why isn't it that way in America? Because slavery had just ended, and in the hospitality sector, employers didn't want to pay former slaves, so they let them work just off of tips with no wages. When restaurant owners finally figured out how much they had to gain from this, they lobbied really hard and made sure that when the 1938 Fair Labor and Standards Act was introduced, it excluded tipped workers from a minimum wage. More in part 2. Part 2 of tip.
Yeah. Yeah, so first of all, I apologize for the volume. Yes, she's very loud. I get that she's passionate about this. Yeah, you know what? I didn't make these rules. I wish they would change. I agree that people working in restaurants, it's so bizarre that they don't even make minimum wage. They make way lower, and then they get tips. I know some people do really well and actually don't want it to change. I've heard that from people themselves who work in restaurants. But also, for every person like that, there's multiple people that are very much struggling and working their rear off at the restaurant and providing good service and still not making a livable wage. They might not be able to pay rent next month. So I understand it's a big problem. It's beyond the scope of what I can comprehend. I wish it could change. I think people in the masses are starting to, realize that it's kind of weird and should change, right? I think they should make at least minimum wage. Let's close the gap here, let's make at least minimum wage. That's like way better than $2, $3 an hour. It varies each state. Some states do pay them a lot more. But either way, it's too low. They should make tips and, a livable wage. That would be better. It's not that complicated. All I do is I make sure that I treat our waiter, our waitress, our server, whatever you want to call them. I know everything's offensive nowadays, but whatever, our restaurant employee that helps bring us our food and, helps us take our order, I always try to treat them with respect, try to converse with them, have a smile. I've always had really good experiences usually, even a couple bad ones. I don't know what they're going through, so I always tip no matter what. Always tip very generously. And yeah, I try to make it a pleasant experience for them as they try to make it a pleasant experience for me. Until bigger changes happen, that's the least we can do is treat them with respect, make it a good environment, and leave them a generous tip if you're able to do so.
Workers' wages in America. It wasn't until 1966 that advocates were even able to accomplish a base pay for tipped workers, and even then it was a sub-minimum wage. The current federal minimum wage for tipped workers is $2.13 an hour. It hasn't been changed in 25 years. The idea is that if your tips don't add up to minimum wage, that the employer is supposed to make up for that. But the Department of Labor did a compliance sweep from 2010 to 2012 and found that 84% of restaurants had violated those laws. Further complicating this issue is the fact that there's not a consensus among...
Yeah, let me mention that's a tragedy to me, is that you can have good employees, but a restaurant, at the top, right, upper management, the owner, whatever, can have really a lot of corruption going on. Seems like a lot of restaurants are like that. Of course, not all of them, but a good percentage of them, which is kind of freaky, right? That's really humiliating. That's a bad thing. I've never understood this. Like, if I had a big business like that, it's just simple. I want to be successful. I want to have a nice, big business. And how that happens is employees. Your employees are the backbone of the business. Yeah, there's so many wheels that turn a machine that is a restaurant. And I don't understand why you wouldn't want to keep them happy. If you pay them well, you try to give them benefits, you just try to make it a great work environment, they're going to be happy. They're going to be proud to report to work. They're going to be there more. They're going to perform better, and everything will benefit from the bottom up, top down, whatever way you spin it. I've never understood why some owners of businesses are so cheap and so not worried about, people will come in and out, high turnover rate, whatever. Like that's basically treat our employees like garbage. Like, I don't understand it personally. I really don't. But then again, capitalism is also the answer, because some companies aren't really prioritizing making the best product with the best employees. They just care about, bottom line. Let's make the most profit we can. And, millionaire is not enough. I want to be a billionaire. Billionaire is not enough. I want to be a trillionaire. It's a vicious cycle.
Among servers, whether or not this would be a good thing to get rid of tips, because there are a lot of servers who make good money, but the numbers don't lie. Tipped workers experience poverty at a much higher rate than non-tipped workers, and I'm sure you're not going to be surprised by hearing this. Women and people of color typically make less in tips than do their white male counterparts. So we have to start asking ourselves whether or not this system is working for everybody. More in part 3. Part 3 of tipped workers' wages in America. So let's talk about restaurants. If you've watched parts 1 and 2, then you know now why you're paying the servers' bills, right? But did you know that you're also paying for other employees? There's a thing called tip share. Now, I can't really provide a source.
Yeah, tip share, this is pretty common knowledge as well. I think most people know this. That's why you got to leave a good tip, even if your server was a total asshole. Other people are counting on that as well. So just try your best. You still got to leave a tip. I understand if an employee is totally rude to you, then screw them. I get it, but there's a lot of people involved, and not everyone is an asshole. So
for this, because so many restaurants do it differently, but in my experience, what I had to do was print out my sales for the end of the night, and based on what my sales were, I paid 3% of it in tip share, and that tip share went to hosts, bussers, bartenders, etc. Here's the kicker though: if you don't get tipped, you still owe that tip share. So when somebody stiffs you on a $100 check, you pay $3 out of your own pocket to serve them. I understand that there are some people that say, well, if they didn't do a good job, then I shouldn't have to tip them. But please take these factors into consideration. There could be 100 reasons why the service was bad, and not all of them are the server's fault.
I pose a question. I like posing questions to you guys. I have a very awesome community on this channel and a good audience. Now, this might not be many because I have a world audience, and this doesn't particularly apply to most countries, but any servers that want to share stories in any country, but especially I guess in the US where tipping culture is a thing, is it that common to get stiffed though? I mean, I've never seen it happen around me, even tables next to me. Like, I don't know, like I feel like for every 100 tables you serve over the course of how many days, do you really get stiffed that much? I genuinely hope not. I wouldn't think that's very common, at least I hope, right? Maybe I'm giving humanity too much credit. I don't know. Granted, to be stiffed at all, even 100 times, would hurt. I totally get it. But I hope that's not common.
Be the very best servers on the planet, and some people just still won't tip us. And unless they committed some kind of heinous act, does anybody deserve to pay out of pocket to do their job?
Americans have been conditioned to believe is normal.
College.
Yeah.
But y'all not ready for that conversation, though. Okay, let me
I like where this is going. This is a good start.
Let me tell y'all why. For one, college does not teach you how to make money. College teaches you how to get a job. You pay thousands of dollars every year, and what do they give you in return? A piece of paper. A piece of paper pretty much stating that you know the bare minimum to enter this field and get a job. Here's the funny part. A job isn't even guaranteed.
Yep.
You'd be surprised on how many people graduate college
job.
and don't even get a job in the field that they majored in.
Yep.
And it's crazy to me, right? Because people would literally not invest in themselves. You know, they won't put in like $500 to learn how to make 6 figures plus. I mean, who wouldn't do that? But we'll pay $60K a year, maybe more, for college. That doesn't even guarantee you money. Not only is it $60K,
that is ironic.
but it's along with interest. Well, let me tell y'all something. I'm 19 and I have never stepped foot in college. And my bag is long.
Come with me.
Hey, that guy is speaking truth, if you ask me. He basically covered it all. Let me just say that everyone has their own path. Some people in America, especially where college is very expensive, you know, if they choose to go to college and they want to pursue whatever they're going there for, that's great. I'm not ripping on those people. Let me just clearly say, from my experience, I only went to 2 years of community college. It was super cheap. It was paid off the year of, so I don't have any student loans or debt, and I'm very glad that I didn't go to college for 8 years and rack up, $250,000 in debt. I'm very glad because you can make money without going to college.
Me on this Twitter thread. What's something that's clearly a scam but Americans have been conditioned to believe is normal? Filing taxes. Other countries just send you a bill. U.S. uses human error to prey on poor people and let rich people game the system.
Yeah, I will partially agree that the rich people somehow end up paying a lot less in taxes sometimes, a lot of the time, than poor people. That is pretty backwards.
Advertising for prescription drugs, rarely taking
That doesn't
vacation,
bother me.
supersized
Whatever.
portions, flying flags every.
Let's read these myself because she's just reading them all in a row. Advertising prescription drugs, whatever. Doesn't matter to me. You don't have to pay attention to ads. Let me just add one more point. I realize that's referring to the fact that you shouldn't be sold prescription drugs like a typical product. It all revolves around the high cost of U.S. healthcare, which we've already covered many times before, is majorly flawed. Rarely taking vacations. This one, yes. I wish that would be more relevant in U.S. culture. I know other jobs, I know jobs around the globe, typically most countries get more time off, and I agree, that's awesome. I think there should be slightly more time off at the minimum in America because people need vacations, they need a break, they need a reset. Taking a vacation, getting out of your element is so beneficial. It's so therapeutic, and more Americans need to slow down, pump the brakes, leave your city, leave your state, get out there. If you can, leave the country. Just get out there, see the beautiful world that we live on, and learn how to take care of it. And there's more to life than your job. No, get away from work. Go do something else. There needs more time for that. Supersized portions, whatever. That doesn't bother me. You don't have to order an extra large. I don't know what that is saying here. Flying flags everywhere. That's false. First of all, having patriotism, I don't know what's wrong with that if it's not hurting anyone. You can fly an American flag in your yard if you want. I don't know what the trouble with that is. Most people don't do it around me, so I wouldn't say it's everywhere. Going into debt over the cost of college, agree. That is a shame. It's not a smart move. Bankruptcy due to healthcare costs. That one I'll really agree with because that is a shame, right? Your healthcare is kind of the most important thing ever. It should not bankrupt you. I agree. Wish there was a solution that would come into place.
Everywhere, going into debt over the cost of college, bankruptcy due to health care costs, credit scores, filing your own taxes, cops in schools, militarized police, guns in general, no maternity, paternity leave, and PB&Js. Strapping 17-year-old kids with no credit, 50 to 100K in loans.
Let me just mention, maybe I'm the odd man out in America, but I have never enjoyed PB&J. I like peanut butter, but not peanut butter and jelly. Not my thing, but if Americans love that, what's the trouble? I don't get it.
To pay for degrees in which doesn't guarantee a job or career. Insurance deductibles. It's basically saying you paid monthly for this product you may not ever need, but if you ever actually do need it, you're going to have to pay more just because. Credit scores. Nothing's real. It's all made up. Do what you want. It's all made up. What's something that's clear?
Okay.
Clearly a scam, but
Thank you.
VPN companies are the biggest scam in America. They are so prevalent right now, and yet there has been no use for them whatsoever. And most people don't even understand why they need one in the first place.
Okay, I'm anxious to see what he says about this. He is right. They are really relevant nowadays. I see it advertised everywhere the last few years. VPN this, VPN that. I've never had one. I don't really understand what they're for. The only benefit I know, without studying them, is like I know that you can watch media from different countries, have access to different things, forms of like videos, like that kind of media. So I guess that's kind of cool, right? But I don't know. I mean, I really don't know what their benefit is or why you would need one. Security, that never made sense because your own Wi-Fi, the internet, like it is encrypted, right? Like if you're on a secure network, so I don't really know why you need a VPN, but.
See, most people think this is what's happening when you connect to a VPN. You're blocking your traffic from your ISP before you go to the website. What actually happens is this. You're delegating your trust to your VPN instead of your ISP. All that happens when you're using a VPN is that you're hiding your IP address and it encrypts its traffic within its tunnels. The second one, completely worthless. Literally everything is encrypted in traffic right now with HTTPS. Your Wi-Fi signal is encrypted too. There's nothing that a VPN adds. And also, if you are doing any illegal shit on a VPN, take that device and chuck it as far as you can down the Hudson right now. All of them will hand over your information to the government without questions asked. You need to educate yourself immediately right now if you want to swipe with that shit.
Well, there's some interesting points. If he's right about all that, then yeah, I agree. Trusting a company, VPNs are put out through companies. Why would you trust that company any more than you would, any other company? So, but yeah, if you disagree with any of these, tell me down below. If you totally agree with all of them, you can tell me that as well. Your experiences, your thoughts on this, please, let's share them down below. Throw a thumbs up, a like on this video if you enjoyed it. I do appreciate it. It will help the video out. Check that description for this original video. It will be there so you can watch the entire length of it uninterrupted. And also subscribe. Join our amazing community here, growing community. I do appreciate each and every one of you. And with that being said, guys, my name is Ian. You're watching IWrocker. Until next time, guys, stay safe, be nice, and I'll catch you later.